So hello Bodo and hello everybody, and I invite here the Bodo Maass is your name, is this right?
Yes, that's right.
Uh-huh. And I invite you because of the Overtone Analyzér, because it's a very interesting program and I use it very much with my teaching. So can you tell us in a brief way what it actually is and why it's so good?
It's a software that makes sound visible. So at its very basic level, it tells you which frequencies are in your sound and how loud are they. That's the basic information. And that's, of course, based on a spectrum, which is a standard way of breaking down a piece of sound into its constituent frequencies. So we just took that and tried to present it in a way that is usable for musicians. And originally, it was really intended to teach people overtone singing.
Yeah. So I know it was developed because of overtone singing, it's right?
Yes. I was taking a class in overtone singing with Wolfgang Saus, who's one of the main overtone singing teachers in Germany. And he said it would be cool to have a software to help people understand this stuff. And what we found at the time didn't really do what he wanted. And so I thought, well, I know how to program. So I wrote a prototype in a weekend and I showed it to him and he was really excited. And that was in September 2003, I think. So 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I thought, okay, that's a cool thing, but I need to spend way more time to get that to a point where people can actually use it and where it could be an actual product. So eventually it became my full-time job to do this. And I've been doing this full-time for 15 years now, probably.
Wow. So it's just your own creation, or do you have a team?
There's a small team. So on the content side, it was Wolfgang Saus and myself. And then I have some freelancers that work for me some of the time and some other singing teachers give me input. But I'm the main technical lead. And so it's my company.
Nice. And can you tell us a bit of you and your musical interests nowadays? What you like, for example, to play or sing?
I've always had an interest in overtone singing, but also in just normal singing. So I've always been singing in choirs and I study classical singing as a hobbyist. And I was actually singing in the Spectrum Overtone Choir in Prague for a while. And that was around the time when I got started with this whole stuff. So in this period from 2003 to 8, maybe, I was in Prague quite a lot and they're still active and they actually invited me to visit them again. So it was always choir singing and sometimes with a little bit of overtone singing mixed in. And mostly I've become interested in improvisation together as a group while singing. So I do like the composed choir pieces, but if you just listen to the sound, if you take a group of people that are trained in overtone singing and they just tone together and listen to each other, you get a sound that really is enough for me. I really live for that kind of experience of fusing voices through sound with people that know how to listen to the overtones. So to me, this ability to listen to the overtones is far more important than the ability to make overtones with your mouth. That's just a gimmick, but the perception, that's the real benefit I see in it.
Yeah, it reminds me my class or meetings when we have, I call it like voice meditation, that we are all together like sounding in like one drone and using instruments like this, and playing, and it's so beautiful. So maybe it's something similar you describe.
Yeah. And so when we did the choir together with Wolfgang as the overtone specialist and another person to lead the choir, and Wolfgang would just spend half an hour with the choir just on one single tone to get the sound right. And that's kind of what I miss in my current choir, where we don't have this focus on the quality of the sound. We just go through repertoire at an astounding speed. And it still sounds good, but it doesn't quite have this depth of the sound that you only get from an overtone choir. And that's what I like most.
And do you also teach?
A little bit, but it's not really my main focus. So my main activity is still writing the software and marketing it, and that already takes more time than I really have. That's why certain things take forever to get finished. And so if I wanted to seriously make money with teaching in way to live, then I would have to put way more focus on that. And just doing it on the side then makes it hard to really get a group going. So I've been teaching a group for singing improvisation for a while, and I had individual sessions for Overtone singing available, but in the moment that's not really my focus.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy teaching singing improvisation to groups when I have a chance to do that.
Yeah, I'm asking it because still I think about it. I can refresh like the before many years. I don't even know Overtone singing in that time, but there was Overtone festivals in Prague, you know, and I have a little bit of feeling and enthusiasm to make it over again. So maybe I can invite you one day, or we can settle up something, you know, with other people around here.
There's also always the challenge in teaching. You spend a lot of your time with teaching beginners, so you're explaining the same thing over and over and over again, and then there are very few people who actually become successful students. And those people that have the inclination to do that, they probably don't even need you as much as a teacher. Like many or some of the best Overtone singers I know have been mostly self-taught. They didn't buy the workshop for 500 euro. They just bought the book for 15 euro and learned everything from that.
Wow.
And so those people would be the most fun to teach, and they don't actually need it. And if you have this average person who's just kind of interested to try it out, then you spend a lot of energy explaining to them all the things, and then they do it a little bit and go away. And then you get the next person who's like that. So
that's true. And with Overtone Analyzér, it's so simple because you just see what you are singing. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, and earlier you asked who's the team behind it. So actually, there was another person, Don Miller, who had a program called VoceVista, which is very similar, but not with a focus on Overtone singer. He was coming more from the world of classical opera singing. And so eventually we decided to merge our teams. And that's why my top edition is now called VoceVista Video, because the original reason for getting together was to add video signals into his program. But so we basically rebranded Overtone Analyzér into VoceVista. And I still have these two names, but I might at some point perhaps drop Overtone Analyzér completely and just call it VoceVista. So in a way, Overtone Analyzér is my legacy brand name. And it's not where most...
What's the difference? Because I knew it's on the website, but I really never get it. So I just don't know.
They're just the same program, and they just have different sets of features. So what is now called Overtone Analyzér is the smallest editions, and it's just the basic spectrum. And then the other editions have a lot more, like a vowel chart and enhanced analytics features. And they will also soon add video signals to this. But before that, we probably finished the mobile version first to run it on iPads and iPhones and such like.
I was also pretty much into IT and programming in my high school. So I guess like how you actually like wrote it, or how you begin like to analyze the sound, you know?
First, you have to learn how a spectrum works, and then find a suitable implementation, and that's pretty easy. So anybody, then there are tons of free programs and paid programs that take a sound and show you a spectrum. Oh. And the hard part is to actually try to get a usable product out of that. And that takes many, many years of refinement and development. And you have to give it to people and watch them, how they use it. And then you get some ideas. Okay, they always do this in this really awkward way, and it would be so much simpler if we can change this somehow. And they don't tell you this because they don't think like a programmer. You have to, as a programmer, understand what is the user trying to do, and then what is a good way of helping them to accomplish that. And it's hard because everybody comes from a different background, and mostly this is aimed at people who are not super technical. And then you have some users who come from digital audio workstation programs who are, of course, super advanced, but they're not the main audience. The main audience are really singing teachers who are not primarily interested in computers. And you have to watch them and then figure out how can you help them to make it more easily.
Do you know if it's some feature in Overtone Analyzer that most of the users might be missing out or don't know about it, but it's actually quite good?
Probably everything in the advanced edition. Well, one thing that everybody loves is the frequency filters, which is actually kind of a simple feature, but so it allows you to listen to the individual components of your sound. And that's not in the
only one overtone.
Yes. That's only in the VoceVista editions. So if you just have the small overtone analyzer, you won't have that. But most people who have that edition really, really like it. And you just have a frame, and everything in the frame is audible, and everything outside is not. And you can flip that also, so that you're deleting one overtone.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So, and you can make them stronger or less strong, but mostly just to listen to the individual overtones in your sound one by one really makes you appreciate what they sound like.
And it's perfect for explaining the people, you know, because
yes, and then as an overtone singer, you do the same thing with your mouth. Yeah. And then it becomes really astounding. There's this video which I did with Anna Maria Hefele, which you might have seen, where she shows first, this is my voice. And now we are using the computer to filter out.
I know, it's quite well known, the video, you know.
Yes, and then she does the same thing with her voice. But that's the frequency filter feature. So I would say that's one of the most features that everybody loves, and not that many people miss.
Yeah, I know the video was pretty successful, and also a lot of people that are going to my classes, they are watching or know Anna Maria or her videos. But actually there are not so quite much videos on YouTube about the analyzer, no?
Yeah, it's possible. I'm trying to make more videos now to explain how it works in more detail. It's one on my list of things to do. And I will also do a series of sound portraits of gongs and singing bowls. So I already did all the recordings, and now I have to just edit the videos and figure out how to present this in a reasonable way.
Yeah. I also have them, it's my favorite activity. Just whenever I just open the computer and play the instruments. I want to see them, you know, how it's look, you know, what are the frequencies. And for me, it was pretty inspiring that I think that the gong and instruments like that have way more overtones, but actually not so true like the other instruments, you know.
Yeah. Oh, now I just coming back to your earlier question, which feature are people missing? And that's probably the sound generator. So Overtone Analyzer and VoceVista are not just tools to visualize sound, but they're also tools to generate sounds in a synthetic way as a means of better understanding it. So, and it doesn't try to be a completely realistic simulation, but rather it tries to say, what is the simplest way in which I can reproduce a voice and make it sound reasonably accurate? So you start with sine waves and you combine them, and then you add a vibrato, and then you add the simulated resonances of the vocal tract. Oh. And then you get something that sounds not 100% realistic, but already pretty close. Yeah, you can definitely hear that this is a male or female sounding singer with a certain vibrato, and you can recognize what kind of vowel they sing, and then you can simulate certain things like what happens if they make the vibrato faster or slower.
And it's something we can do, or it's not there already.
That's already in. You can do all of that. So that's, as I said, that's one of the features that people probably don't use enough. And I know one or two singing teachers who really understood the feature, and they take a recording of a famous singer and then to try to recreate it in the software. And then if you can do that, you really understand the vocal technique of that singer, because you're reproducing it step by step. And so if that helps you to understand what is happening there, then you might also be able to try to learn it as a singer for yourself.
It's interesting. But then you actually need to know how like certain moves in your throat and vowels change the overtones, you know.
Yeah. So the program doesn't tell you that. It just shows you if you have achieved doing that what you wanted. But you still have to figure out how the relation.
And it's also in Overtone Analyzér or only in the VoceVista?
There's a basic version of that in the Overtone Analyzér, but it doesn't have the simulation of the vocal tract resonances. So for that, you need the middle edition or higher. And also to simulate vowel transitions, which again is changing the resonances in the mouth. That's only VoceVista and higher.
It's interesting. And where we can find it in the Analyzér? I can also like run it and share the screen, but I don't know.
It's all in the sound generator, and then you need the vowel chart for the more advanced stuff. But I will make more or new YouTube tutorials about that. It's not something I am prepared to show right now.
Nice.
But actually, so you can also simulate, for example, singing the overtone scale, which is something that's actually in the program by default, but only in VoceVista and higher.
Nice. And what about like every year I wrote an email like, what the mobile app, you know, people want a mobile app.
We're working on that. We have a prototype actually that already works on iOS and Android. And so it requires a bit more work, but hopefully we can put something out this year.
Nice. If I can join to prototype, I'll be super happy, you know.
Do you want to run it on iPad or on iPhone or something?
I have an iPhone. Yeah, I have an iPhone. Just the iPhone and
yeah. No, it's definitely getting there, and we are working on it.
Yeah, like every time somebody from my classes comes with different program, but every time we said it's not so good. You know? But it's not so clear, you know, to see the overtones. Okay, so what we have next? Can you guess or inspire us beyond the basic how we can use the Overtone Analyzér in a more like creative way or unconventional ways?
Well, that goes back to what I just said about trying to reproduce your own voice, for example, or understanding what makes a voice sound in a certain way. So, for example, you can have a voice sounding more male or more female, and you actually only need to change maybe 3 or 4 resonances to achieve that. And so it's kind of experimental voice science by way of recreating sounds. So that's one way of doing this. And what you can do, what probably nobody knows, is that you can experiment with binaural sounds. That works in all editions.
Ahoj, já moc děkuju, že jsi dokoukal až sem. Pokud se chceš podívat na celý rozhovor, tak budu ti moc vděčný, když si klikneš na odkaz pode mnou nebo nade mnou. A celý rozhovor najdeš v placené sekci Hero Hero, stojí to jenom 5 € měsíčně a dostaneš v rámci členství průměrně každý týden jeden takovýto celý rozhovor. Jsme řešili s Bodem Maassem hlavně to, jak poznávat jednotlivé frekvence, proč je dobré umět ladit zvuk i v alikvótech, což třeba spousta hráčů na tibetské mísi neví a pak prostě tvoří muzikoterapeutickou hudbu, která vlastně je neposlouchatelná a nepříjemná. Taky jsme řešili nějaké vtipné a zajímavé historky, jak ho někdo oslovoval proto, aby mu pomocí Overtone Analyzéru třeba změřil hluk nebo udělal forenzní analýzu pachatele. A v neposlední řadě jsme se bavili o našich plánech a o tom, kdy se potkáme a pravděpodobně, že uděláme alikvotní festival v Praze. A pak Bodo zmínil 1 nebo 2 další zajímavé techniky a funkce, o kterých málo kdo ví a které můžete udělat v Overtone Analyzéru, a taky zmínil pár technik a nových funkcí, které připravuje a které přijdou pravděpodobně do ruku. Tak jo, děkuju moc a těším se v celém rozhovoru v rámci mého Hero Hero. Mějte se, čus.